would you say if I said that I could bring them back?
I guess I'd say I never thought of that.
Well, alright, hold tight, you might want to stand back because one small John is coming intact.
St. John forward, spitting out some more words, fully intact, jacked, ready to rap and attack. Small John on your lawn, living like a gnome, hit you with my lyrics like a bullet to your dome.
Tonight when he comes up here, he's either gonna kill or he's gonna suck. But there's no in between for Mr. John Forward.
Oh, well, I didn't know any of that.
Well, that's what I've been trying to say the whole time.
Welcome to St. John Forward Radio. I'm John Forward. This is the show. It's Monday night, 9 o'clock, Thanksgiving Monday. Is this a real holiday, or is this just like the Sunday is the holiday and this is the fake one so that everybody gets a day off work? Not really sure. I didn't do any Thanksgiving type stuff today. We'll get into some things that I'm thankful for briefly. Yeah, as I've gotten in the habit of doing these solo shows on holidays, not really sure why it works out like that. I just generally, if I'm not working, I just have a lazy day at home, and I don't know. I feel more prepared to do a solo show when I'm my mind's not been distracted by, having to work and such. And, just didn't have anybody that I felt like asking to come on the show. There are guest-loaded content out there for you if you're interested. Earlier today, I released an internet-only, Too Hot for the Radio crossover episode between St. John Forward Radio and the Four Story Walk Up podcast. Technically, not that really means anything. It's just myself, Arif Hussein, and Brian Godso. We got together for a nice Thanksgiving Sunday meal of Burger King, and then we went back and hung out at my house for a bit and watched 2004 classic film The White Chicks. Or actually, I don't think there's it's just White Chicks, starring Sean and Marlon Wayans. Classic film. So we put out a podcast. It's in the feed, johnforward.podbean.com. I imagine RF and Brian will be putting it out on their feed too. You can download that and listen to it at your leisure. Be warned, though, no jokes have been barred on that one. Try to keep it cool here on local FM, because, I like coming to do the show here and don't need to antagonize anybody. If I want to put out my filth, I'll put it on the online feed. Keep the airwaves nice and friendly for yous. Solo show tonight. It is. I've got some other things in mind, not really written down. I've just got some general ideas that I'll talk about throughout the show. But I'll play a bit more music than usual. Maybe some comedy bits. But it's Thanksgiving, so I should say some things that I'm thankful for. I get to live a pretty comfortable life, which is nice. I don't really have to worry about paying my bills or putting food on the table. That's my privilege. And a big part of that, I managed to get through university relatively debt-free. Not really putting either of my 2 degrees to particularly good use at the moment. They're just lines on a resume mostly at this point. I'm sure there's something that bled through. But I never really had to ring up a pretty huge bill to get them, so I don't begrudge it too much. If I had to go back and do it over again, I probably would have taken a trade or something, gone to community college. That may have been a better track for me, but I'm living the life I've got. Never racked up a huge pile of debt in the university. Part of it because I was able to live at home through most of university with my dad up until 22, 23 years old, I think I moved out. Also, silver lining, Mom died when I was in university. Not a great thing to happen, but she did leave me a bit of money. Not a huge pile of cash, but it was enough to keep me going through university, given that I had no bills to pay. So that was nice, and just I had a bit extra to start out my adult life. It was a good head start to being a grown up. I don't have any of it left, but I'm doing pretty well. And I'm thankful for some of the material things that I get to have in my life. That it's not necessary, but makes things a little bit easier and more fun. I'm not at want. I can go to the movies when I want. I can go eat at whatever restaurant I want and not have to worry about it too much. I can do stuff. I've got a pretty reliable car. Always feels a little bit crappy after I get to rent a nice newer car through work and then get back and hop in the old Subaru, listening to those belts squeal when I fire it up, and get to smell my thousands of farts that have been absorbed into the driver's seat over the past few years. But it gets the job done. It's not a brand new car, but it's in decent shape. It runs. I take care of it. I live a comfortable enough life that I can bring it in for service and maintenance, and there's the occasional shocker of a bill, but I can get it. I'm thankful I get to live in a house. It can feel a bit small sometimes because my dear wife May and I have a bit of a junk hoard, and there's not enough electrical outlets. It's a pretty old house and could use some renovations. But it's where I live. I like it. It's comfortable. I've got a nice view of the city from my front deck. It's in a decent location. I walked home from Uptown on Saturday night, which is pretty doable when it's not a terrible weather issue for it. What else? I don't have to. The upside, I've lived in an apartment for a while, and I'm glad that I don't have to deal with neighbors coming home and stomping around their clubbing boots on the floor at all hours of the night on weeknights. My last apartment that I lived in had a prostitute slash stripper, I think, lived upstairs from me and got into lots of loud screaming matches with her boyfriend, and also screaming at us through our door if I'm listening to my podcasts a little bit too loud while I'm eating my breakfast in the morning. So it's nice. I don't need to worry about them bothering me. I don't have to worry about them getting mad at me for listening to loud podcasts, or if I want to jack up the surround sound to watch a movie or play a video game. It's nice to have my own little island to escape to. Occasionally, we live next to a multi-unit building, and there's various people that cycle in and out of that place. Lots of people like to leave piles of trash on the side steps, which eventually get disintegrated and blow into my yard. Not a big fan of that. Not a big fan of the little punk kid next door that egged my house over the summer. Still got an egg smear on my window. I need to get up on a ladder and clean that up. Anyway, overall, I like where I live. I'm thankful I've got a decent job. There's some rough days, and there's a lot of things that I don't like about my job, but I do like working for a nonprofit and feeling like I'm contributing something to the world, as opposed to lining old J.D. Irving's pockets like I did at my previous job, or actively harming children by being a public school teacher, which I did before. That sounds like I did something. I'm saying that the public school system inherently is bad for them. I didn't go out of my way to... Anyway, let's get off that topic. Current job, make a decent salary, helps me pay for my various comforts and luxuries that I enjoy. I wouldn't call myself super passionate about my job, but really, how many people are? I don't know many. There's a few. And but I've got an outlet that's more rewarding, and that unfortunately doesn't pay much of anything, but I'm still thankful that I get to do stand-up comedy. There's a bit of stress, there's some politics, there's some drama to it sometimes, not so much lately. But I like having the outlet, and it's still fun to do. And all things considered, I'm a relatively successful comedian for somebody who's in St. John, New Brunswick. But I'm not some hotshot. I still get humbled constantly, and still got to beg and hustle for every opportunity that I can get. But that's part of it. It can suck, but I wouldn't have to work as hard if everything was just handed to me. So maybe it's a good thing. I've made some of the my best friends through comedy, so that's the main upside for me, to be honest. I'm thankful for all the people that I get to do shows with, or shoot movies with, or just, hang out with and watch a 15-year-old Wayans Brothers movie on Thanksgiving. But most of all, I think I'm thankful for my best of friends, who's my dear wife, May. She's away from me right now, but she's on a trip. But yeah, we were really good friends before we got together romantically. During that period, the more time that I spent with her, the more I fell deeper in love with her. But that posed a bit of an ethical problem, as she was currently dating a good friend of mine for several years. I actually moved out of my dad's house when I finished university, right in with May and her then boyfriend / friend of mine. That was a big drama bomb in my life, but it worked out. This past summer, we celebrated our 13th anniversary together as a couple, and we've been through a lot. We got together. I was just finishing up university, getting into teaching. Not much for work prospects for a few years, just substituting here and there, a couple of days a week. Worked for a tutoring company. Got a couple of long-term jobs, and then that kind of dried up after a couple of years, and went on EI for a while. Started doing stand-up comedy, born from the ashes of my unemployment. But a loved one starting stand-up comedy is not an easy thing. It impacts all of the people around me's lives. So yeah, I started doing that. I had to change jobs. I spent years doing shift work, which was a bit of a strain on the relationship. Being on a different schedule kind of sucked. But I helped out with May through her own career changes, just being there and encouraging her, and being just around, and helped her through college, and she's got a job that she likes quite a bit, certainly much more than what she was doing when we got together. It hasn't been all sunshine and roses, though. There was some rough patches. Me doing comedy didn't help. Dragging our personal life into the spotlight. We've been in some fights over the years, particularly during the stressful couple of years of the attempted open relationship that didn't pan out so well. Throughout this whole time, May and I both realizing her alcohol problem, and she quit drinking. It's been over 3 years now, and then quitting drinking, that was her anxiety medication, so that came up, and that was a whole different thing. But that was something that we worked through, and everything's pretty good for the time being, but my dear wife May is the most interesting person that I know. She's fun to be around, and I'm just happy to be along for the ride, and hopefully she'll continue putting up with me, because it's nice to love and be loved. And I think May and I, we're a good counterbalance. We've got different ways of thinking about things, different opinions, but on the important stuff, I think we're mostly on the same page. But even when not, we can have a conversation about it. I think we both make each other better. And like I said, she's on a trip right now with her friends, and she's only been gone for I think I last saw her yesterday morning, so it's been about a day and a half, and I miss her, but I'm glad she gets to do a fun thing with her friends. I've enjoyed myself going out on vacations without her. I usually go by myself, but I'm glad that she gets to do her fun thing and doesn't have to worry about me complaining about the stuff that she likes to do that I don't also like to do, so that would be nice for her. So I'll be that much happier once I get to see her when she gets back. And so that's some of the stuff that I'm thankful for this Thanksgiving. Let's get to some music. Let's start off with some gratitude from the Beastie Boys here on St. John Forward Radio.
Go I like sex, use it to manifest. My pleasure comes first. I throw a mean curse, do magic with my clothes on. Yeah, I get what I want. Yeah, I am a witch, and my power is free. Yeah, I am a witch, I'll never leave. I do whatever I please, hexa patriarchy. When I bleed, I put it in your coffee. I wear red lips when I'm laying down. Tricks, so don't step out too far. I put your picture in a jar. Yeah, I'm a witch, and my power is free. Yeah, I am a witch, and I'll never leave.
Terrifying.
Nailed it.
Terrifying. You're listening to 107.3 St. John Forward Radio.
Creepier.
Hi, you're listening to 107.3 St. John Forward Radio.
Nailed it.
Terrifying.
If you enjoy listening to the human voice in song, tune in to Vox Humana with me, Robert Selby, your host, on 107.3 FM or localfm.ca, Sundays at 4 p.m. You'll hear singers and choirs singing music through the ages.
Welcome back to St. John Forward Radio. Still John Forward here. It's Thanksgiving weekend. Did a few things this weekend. Friday night, mostly just stayed in with dear old May. It's going to be our last night together before she left me for adventures. We watched the new Rob Zombie movie, 3 from Hell, and it was terrible. It's worth watching if you're a fan. It's the third in the of the House of a Thousand Corpses, Devil's Rejects series. Highly unnecessary sequel. It didn't really add anything. Devil's Rejects is still his high point, and he's not gonna turn it around. Sunday, did the podcast and Burger King with Brian and Arif I talked about. Also, Sunday, shot the actual last scenes of Reprobate Road, the Hard Times movie. Bernard Roby show from Cyrus from the Trailer Park Boys this was his big day of shooting. First time I did a scene with him. It was fun. I think we're all done now, unless they need me to do some voiceovers, but that's a bit of a relief to have off of my shoulders. Not that those guys are putting a lot more actual work into it. I just got to show up and look pretty on camera. But Saturday, just took it easy for the most part. Hung out at home, played some video games, watched El Camino, the Breaking Bad movie on Netflix. That was pretty good. Much better than 3 from Hell. But yeah, just hanging out with the cat at home, and 12:30 on Saturday night rolled around, and I was just going to pleasure myself and then go to bed and call it a night. But, I was thinking about it, like, oh man, the wife's away. It's time for some naughtiness. I was a 5-minute drive from the strip club, so hey, I could just pull up some pornography on the computer, or, I could drive 5 minutes down the road, have a beer, get some lap dances, and then come home and pleasure myself. And creating some wealth in the economy while I'm at it. So I decided to do that. I had to make a little bit of a drive around to get to a bank machine, because there's quite a large service fee at the Blush Gentlemen's Club, so I wanted to get all the cash out ready, and that kind of creates a budget, because this is the maximum that I want to spend tonight. So I always have the option of going to the bank machine if I have to. I showed up there, and I don't know. It doesn't have the luster that it usually does, but I enjoyed myself. I guess it was better than just doing nothing. And I usually don't get into potential material. This may find its way onto the comedy stage. I've got far too much stripper material as it is. I think there's a 20-25 minute chunk in Cigarettes and Cool Ranch, which I got the mastered final version from Ian Esty earlier tonight. I'll have to go through that and make sure there aren't any severe blemishes. I've already seen it. I think it should probably be okay. I went and I kind of had an idea for a new angle on the strip club bit. I was thinking when I was there that going to the strip club is sort of a way to put me in touch with the female side of society in a kind of an interesting way, I think. I think that's it gives me a little bit of a taste for what it must feel like to be a woman that goes out to like a bar, especially like a dance bar where there's guys looking to hook up with you, because I go in there and I'm a piece of meat on a platter. You'd think that the strippers would be the kind of the cattle, but no, it's the pervs. We're just being shuffled through, and I go in there, and it's the only place where I go where I feel like eyes are on me, and like people are plotting to come over and chat me up and flirt with me and stuff, and it's taken for a given, much like I've seen I've been out at the bar, and drunk dudes will come up, they'll just swarm on a lady, and that's how I feel when I go to the strip club. And it's kind of the same way that even if a girl goes out to the dance club with a group of friends, she's a little bit safer, not completely, but when a single lady by herself in the bar is gonna get approached constantly, and that's kind of what happens when I go to Blush, especially when I'm being a loser and go by myself. I've got to be careful of where I'm looking, because there's lots of scantily clad ladies walking around, and they're not quite as hard up as they used to be. I don't know if my standards have just been lowered. There's some rough cases in there, but it's the only place that I can think of to go where there's a solid 5 genuinely attractive ladies walking around scantily clad. And if you're gonna ogle a lady, this is kind of the best place to do it, but I've got to be careful who I'm ogling, because if they catch me looking at them, I'm not in trouble, but oh no, they're gonna come over now. So like I imagine a woman in a bar, you don't want to put your vibe out there too much, or the guys will come over, and of course throughout the night various ladies will come up, and they'll try to make some awkward small talk. I'm like, oh, you're so cute, and rubbing my beard, and one of them was like, oh, you must be a musician or something, and I'm like, no, I'm a comedian though. And oh, that's very impressive, sir. And just very weird flirting, and it's I know there's ulterior motives, which again is what it must feel like to be a lady, because all these people talking to me, they're acting like they're genuinely interested in me as a person, but I know they're just trying to get into my pants, specifically my back right pocket that contains my wallet is the part of the pants that they're trying to get into. But that's how it is. But it's still, even though I know it's fake, it's a little bit flattering to have them come over. I like to think that I'm slightly less greasy than some of the people that come through there, so maybe they do prefer the round-faced beardo than the aggro people that usually go in there. I don't know, but it still feels nice to get flirted with, even if I know it's fake. And I've gotten better over the years of not completely caving into the first one that talks to me. So I've had a few of them came up to me on Saturday night, and we're putting the moves on, which eventually all led to the same. Can we go out back and play? And I said, not right now, but I might come find you later, which is, a bit of male empowerment that I get to experience. Because, they're very respectful of my wishes. They ask for consent to go out back and get a lap dance, and I do not provide my consent, and they move on. They don't bother me about it, which is the main difference. I don't think the gentlemen approaching ladies in a bar are always as quick to walk away when they get shut down. But you know, I got a couple of lap dances from some hot ladies, and you know, they again, even when we're in there, they ask my consent every song. They're like, "All right, hey, do you want to continue on?" And I say, "No, I'm good after this one song." And they respect my wishes. One of them, the better one, I thought that we went through 2 songs and she didn't ask and just let it roll, which was fine because I was having a good time. I was going to let it roll. And then there was a break and she asked me if I wanted to continue. And I was thinking this was going to be song 3, which she was worth 2 songs, but, you know, I'll pay $40. $60 is a bit of a stretch. So I shut it down, but it turns out it was only the one song. So if I'd have known that, I would have let it roll. So that was a missed opportunity. So yeah, I got 2 lap dances. I was gonna get a third one. There was one of the ladies at Blush I kind of had my eye on. You know, just trying not to leer, trying not to be too pushy. When she's talking to somebody else, I didn't want to just go over and insert myself and be like, "Hey, toots, let's go out back." So I was kind of keeping an eye on her and, you know, waiting for my chance to swoop in and lift her out of poverty with my $20 for a 3-minute song. Because, you know, it's nice to sit back and be in that position and kind of be the one that decides who's getting what. I gotta really assess the situation and find a lady that I could really see myself with in the long term, that I could spend upwards of 3 minutes with them in a back room. So I had my eye on this one girl. I thought I had an opportunity, but then as I started to approach her, then she went up and it was her turn to go on stage. So then when she got off, I knew there's going to be a flood of dudes that just saw her on stage and we're going to be looking for lap dances. So I tried to, I was watching for when she emerged, but she went and sat down with some girl that was in the front row and chatted her up for a bit, and I didn't want to interrupt, so I didn't do anything. I waited for my chance, but didn't act. Somebody swooped in and stole her from me. So I went home with just my 2 lap dances, and then proceeded with the original plan to pleasure myself, and bit of extra spank bank in there, never hurt anybody, so that was fun. But let's keep the music going. Let's do something else. This was I wanted to play this last time I did an all hot comedy tracks show. I was gonna play, where's my playlist? It's a bit long. It's the 2,000-Year-Old Man by Mel Brooks and Carl Reiner. If I can only find, there's my comedy tracks. So let's hear some classic comedy here on St. John Forward Radio with the 2,000-Year-Old Man.
About 4 days ago, a plane landed at Idlewild Airport. The plane came from the Middle East, bearing a man who claims to be 2,000 years old. He spent the last 6 days at the Mayo Clinic. Sir, is it true that you are 2,000 years old?
Oh, boy. Yes.
You are it's hard to believe, sir, because in the history of man, nobody's ever lived more than 167 years, as the man from Peru would claim to be. But you claim to be 2,000.
Yes, I'm not yet. I'll be 2000, October 16th. Yes.
You will be 2000. When were you born?
We didn't have formal years and names in writing. We didn't know.
I see. And what?
Nobody kept time then. See, we didn't know. We didn't write. We just sat around. We pointed in the sky and we said, "Whoa, hot boy," you know.
That's all you said?
We didn't even know it was the sun. We thought.
You mean you really didn't know anything?
We didn't know anything. We were so dumb and stupid.
Sir.
We didn't know who was a lady.
But they were.
They was with us. We didn't know who they were. We didn't know who was the ladies and who was fellas.
You thought they were just different type of
yes,
fellas?
Yes, just stronger or smaller or softer. The softer ones, I think, were ladies all the time.
Well, how did you find out they were ladies?
A cute fat guy could have mistaken him for a lady, you know? Soft and cute.
Who was the person who discovered the female?
Bernie.
Who was Bernie?
Bernie, one of the first leaders of our group.
And he discovered the female.
Yes.
How did it happen?
He
How did
said,
it come to
hey,
pass?
there's ladies here.
I'm very interested to find out how Bernie discovered the woman.
Well,
How did it come to pass?
One morning, he got up smiling. So he said, I think there's ladies here. So I said, what do you mean, you know? So he said, because in the night, I was thrilled and delighted. See? So then he went into such a story that it's hundreds of years later, I still blushed.
Sir, could you give us the secret of your longevity?
Well, the major thing is that I never, ever touch fried food. I don't eat it, I wouldn't look at it, and I don't touch it. And they never run for a bus, there'll always be another. Even if you're late from work, you know, I never run for a bus, I never ran, I just strolled jaunty, jolly, walking to the bus stop, you know.
Yeah, well, there were no buses in the time of
No, in my time, I mean,
what was the means of transportation then?
Mostly fear.
Fear transported you?
Fear, yes. You would see an animal would growl, you would go 2 miles in a minute.
But I suppose you
Fear would be the main propulsion.
Yes, but I think most people are interested in living a long and fruitful life as you have. You mentioned...
Fruit is good, too. You mentioned fruit. Fruit kept me going for 140 years once when I was on a very strict diet, mainly nectarines. I love that fruit. It's half a peach, half a plum, so it's a hell of a fruit. I love it. Not too cold, not too hot, you know, just nice.
What has been
Even a rotten one is good. I love it. That's how much I love them. I'd rather eat a rotten nectarine than a fine plum. What do you think of that?
I can understand that.
Yes, that's how much I love them.
Yes, I can understand that.
Yes,
Sir?
Some good things.
Sir, what did you do for a living?
Well, many years ago, thousands of years ago, there was no heavy industry.
We know that.
The most things that we manufactured or we made, the most things that we ever made was we would take a piece of wood, see, and rub it and clean it and look at it and hit earth with it and hit a tree with it.
For what purpose?
Just to keep busy. There was nothing. There was absolutely nothing to do. We had no jobs, don't you see?
What other jobs were there? There must have been something else besides hitting a tree with a piece of stick.
Well, hitting a tree with a piece of stick was already a good job. You couldn't get that job, you know?
What job?
Mainly it was sitting and looking in the sky was a big job. And another job was watching each other was one thing. That was light work, looking at each other.
What language did you speak at that time?
They spoke rock, basic rock.
Basic rock.
Yeah.
That was before Hebrew.
Yeah, it was 200 years before Hebrew was the rock language or rock talk.
Could you give us an example of that?
Hey, don't throw that rock at me. Put that rock. Hey, what are you doing with the rock there? Call a policeman, for God's sake. Put that rock away.
I see.
That was the rock.
Now, do you remember your Hebrew, sir?
Yes, I think I remember it fluently.
Because I understand the modern Hebrew is different from the
Yes, it differs in some of the phonetic alliterations and patterns.
Yes. Can we hear an example of the ancient Hebrew?
The very ancient Hebrew is, oh, hi there. Hello. Hello there, how are you? I'm all right, how are you?
That's English.
Oh, wait.
Do you remember any Hebrew?
Very little, I think. I don't think I remember it. I must have forgot a great deal of it.
I think you forgot it all, sir.
Maybe all, yes. Maybe all.
Yes.
It's thousands of years since I needed it.
Now, sir, did you ever have any formal job as we know it today?
Yeah, well, I was a manufacturer. I was an owner.
What kind of a factory did you have?
I used to make the Star of David, the Jewish stars. I was one of the first makers
Oh,
of
yes,
that.
the little thing you wear
as soon as religion came in, I was one of the first in that. I figured this is a good thing.
Yes, and how did you make them? Did you have tools?
Well, we didn't have lathes. I employed 6 men. See, each with a point. And they used to run together in the middle of the factory. And in their great speeds, they would fuse their thing. And they would
Thus making a star.
Yes, we would make 2 a day because of the many accidents. You have 6 men running at high speed with points. You know, plenty of accidents.
You never thought of going into anything else?
No, I had an offer once.
What was
a
it?
fella came to me, Simon.
What did Simon ask you to do?
He said if you have a new thing, a new item, a winner, it looks like a winning item that is going to be a big seller, it's called a cross. And I looked at it and I turned it over and I looked on all sides of it and I said, it's simple. It's too simple. I didn't know then it was eloquent.
You mean you...
No, I didn't know it would be such a hit.
You turned him down.
And I said, I'm sorry, but I'm too busy. See, I could have fired 4 men. 2 men run together, bang, you got a cross. See, I could have saved. I would have had over $100 today if I went in with crosses. Because they're in everywhere today.
By the way, sir, are you married?
I have been married several hundred times.
Several hundred times?
Yes.
You have been married. Do you remember all your wives?
One I remember well.
Which one was that?
The third one, Shirley. I remember her, a redhead.
I'm afraid to ask the next question. You had many hundreds of wives.
Hundreds and hundreds of wives.
How many children do you have?
I have over 42,000 children. And not one comes to visit me. In an afternoon.
Oh, that's terrible.
You bet. They forget a father, sure. That's how they...
That's awful, sir. It's really... You mean to say there isn't one daughter that
Many
favors
daughters,
you?
but they, you know how they are. Children, good luck to them. Let them go and be happy. I don't want... Listen, let them be happy. As long as they're happy, I don't care. But they could send a note and write how you pop, how you doing, pop, you know. Something. No, they don't.
Sir, you must have known some great men in your time. You did travel throughout
I
the
knew
world.
the great and the near great.
Could I ask you about some of these?
Certainly. I'll tell you the true whether I knew or not.
For instance, people are very interested in somebody like Joan of Arc. A lot has been written about her, and we read a lot about her.
What a cutie. Joan of Arc.
You knew Joan of Arc?
I went with her, dummy. I went with her.
Nowhere in history do we know of Joan going with anybody.
Well, they don't print that. They don't print everything.
You didn't marry her?
No, I didn't marry her because she was on a mission, you know. Yes. She used to say to me, I gotta save France. I used to say, I gotta wash up. You save France. I'll see you later. After you save France, I'll wash up, you know.
How did you
feel?
Her
in her way, me in mine.
Yes.
You know?
How did you feel about her being burnt at the stake?
Terrible. See, I didn't know.
Sir, how about some of the legendary characters who supposedly might have existed? For instance, Robin Hood. Did he exist?
Oh, yeah. Lovely man. Ran around in the forest.
Did he really steal from the rich and give to the poor?
No, he didn't.
He didn't?
He stole from everybody and kept everything.
Well, how did legend spring up that he was
He had a fella, Marty, the press agent, ran in all the papers and wrote in scrolls. He took from the rich and gave to the poor. Who knew? Who knew? He'd give you such a knock in the head when they robbed you, you wouldn't remember anything anyway.
So in other words,
he was a tough guy.
I hate to have our legendary figures smashed like this.
Well, I hate to smash them for you.
Yes. Well, you've lived so long, did you ever have an accident in all this time?
An accident always.
An accident?
Oh, an accident. Yes, in the year 61, I was run over by 7 men fleeing a lion. They ran me over.
And that's the extent of all
But they didn't have insurance, I didn't have insurance. There was no such thing then, so you laid there till you got back.
I'm amazed at In the 2,000 years you've lived, you've seen a lot of changes.
Certainly.
What is the biggest change you've seen?
In 2,000 years, the greatest thing mankind ever devised, that I think, in my humble opinion, is saran wrap. You can put a sandwich in it, you can look through it, you can touch it and put it over your face and fool around and everything. It's so good and cute, you can wrap it up.
You equate this
I love it. You can put 3 olives in it and put a little one. You can put 10 sandwiches in and make a big syringe. Whatever you want, it cleans and it sticks.
You equate this with...
You can look right through it.
You equate this with man's discovery of space?
That was good. That was good. That was a good thing.
Well, sir, we don't
space.
have too much more time, but we all here would like to know your code.
Well, all right. Is this it?
Your
My
Honor.
farewell?
Your
Okay.
farewell address.
Hello there. This is 2,000 years talking to you from the depths of back there when we was. Now I'm still and they not. And I just want to say, keep your smile on your face and stay out of a Ferrari or any small Italian car. Stay out of them. And I want to tell you that it's been a wonderful 2,000 years, and you've been a wonderful civilization, and it's been a thrill living for 2,000 years. And eat a nectarine, it's the best fruit ever made.
All right, we're coming up on the end of the program. That was just the 2,000-Year-Old Man with Mel Brooks and Carl Reiner. Not sure what year that's from. There was a 2,000-year-old movie that was released in 1975, according to the Googles. That may be from that, but that's a bit that they started doing together in the 50s. So. Not sure when that particular recording took place, but anyway, the stuff that they talk about in it, I'm not sure how much of it is kind of, it's probably something that was riffed on for many years, and they just kind of, that may be the greatest hits version of it, but anyway, I like it. It's fun, wholesome comedy. Yeah, we don't got much time left on the show. I was going to give some controversial hot takes on the abortion clinic closing down in Fredericton, but that's a weird thing to tuck into the last 2 minutes of the show, so maybe that'll appear next week. Maybe there'll be some updates on it. But that's pretty much it for the show. This coming Saturday, October 19th at McGill's, this month's edition of No Jokes Barred is happening. FYI, if you're listening, the show's starting a half hour earlier than usual, which is going to be the case. So I put 8 o'clock on the event, but the actual show will run from 8:30 to 10:30. Just give the bar a little bit more of a buffer if they've got something else that they want to book in to come in at 11 o'clock. So that's what's going on there. Also, some other stuff I got coming up. I'm doing Troy Haynes show at Tribute Lounge, which is inside of Club Chrome in Fredericton. I'll be going up and doing that with John Scove Nielsen and Austin Hill. That's Friday, November 8th. And I'm gonna be at Chuckles November 15th and 16th, opening for Rob Ross, and that would have been No Jokes Barred weekend, but luckily we got bumped to the 23rd next month. I think it's the 23rd. I need to confirm with the bar. I'm pretty sure that's when it's going to be. We got bumped because the Santa Claus parade's on the 16th, which is the third Saturday, which we always kind of just powered through and did that at the R Bar for years. It always seems to land on third Saturday of November for some reason. But anyway. That's what's coming up, and then the Hard Times movie on the 29th at the BMO, and I'm going to kick on the outro music before I get cut off. Thank you for tuning in.